First thing is just like remove this. So we're going to implement a remove framework that is going to receive an ID and remove that thing from the database. Right now, I don't think I'm running it, so let me just yarn dev. Do it. There we go. Hydra, yarn dev. And OK, so we have a mutation for add framework, and let's create one for remove framework. Let me open up this, reload the page, and just get all the frameworks. This works. So I have one framework, which is React. Let me just add a framework. Let me add Vue, for example. Remove this, because we don't need this in here. So Vue, and it's Vue.js Vue. Vue.js Vue. So that we have two. Yeah, nice. Smart. I'm really excited about Vue, apparently. OK, cool. So if I come here now, it returns both frameworks. I don't need this whole mess, because this gets confusing. So I'm just going to copy this in here. And we get both frameworks. Prettify, beautiful. OK, let's go. I keep clicking Command S. That's why that happens. OK, so add framework, and it's here. And let's create a remove framework. That will get the exact same parameters. It will also be async. So async, we don't need the first one. We do need the ID. That's what the person passes. Just one. So I'm just going to pull this over here. There we go. And with this, we got to first, I tend to put this in a try catch, which is the same as a catch statement in promises. So you try to do that, and if you fail, just throw a new error. That's it. You don't really have to do this, because it does this automatically for you in here. But if you want to check what the error actually was, this is nice. You can also console.log the error if there's a problem, stuff like that. The actual GraphQL server will always fail. So you don't have to do this, because it will fail. It will just tell you, just no, fuck you. OK, so const deleted framework is equal to an await. What? An await of framework that find by ID. And the only thing that we need to pass it in here is the ID that the person has passed. And this will actually return a framework that we can just call destroy on. So you go to deleted framework that destroy. That is not it. OK, so this will delete the framework. And then just for terms of consistency, let's just return the framework that we deleted. So deleted framework. There we go. So let's try this out and hope to God that it works. OK, so the mutation is now remove. Oh, yeah, if you double click this, it will actually show this in here. That's cool. Also not very cool when you actually want to just change it. But yeah. So remove framework, we'll just get an ID. And we'll do ID of 2, for example, which is in this case Vue. So I'll run it. And I get the data back with name Vue, ID 2, and the git. This is what we wanted. So if we now search for frameworks, you will get I only have one ID in the frameworks array. So let's go over what I did here. So the first thing that I did was find that framework by ID. There is also like a find method, which is just find. And you can find like where, ID, where. And you got to do like objects inside of objects. So ID equals ID, for example. You can do any sorts of stuff. There's a lot of things that you can search on the SQLize documentation. But find by ID works fine with us. And then I call destroy on it. So that means that you can't return this, because this is null. This doesn't actually give you anything. And we don't care if this is already finished or not. So we just return the deleted framework. That's the only thing. That's the thing that we need to do here. Does anyone have any questions about this mutation?
Should we await for the deleted framework?
You can await for it, but it's mostly never going to be a problem. Like, you can await for it, so we can await for this. It will just take a whole bunch longer, probably. Can I read proper destroy of null? Because that doesn't exist. It actually didn't take a lot longer. You can await for it, or you can't. This will most likely not be a problem, because it will fail here. It can't fail here if your database connection is really weird, for example. So if you can also await this, and that's completely fine. It works the same way. But in this case, I didn't. But I mean, if you work on a large production thing, and there's a lot of people accessing your database at the same time, yeah, you should await this as well. Is any other questions about this? No? Yes? No? Maybe? No question? Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to close this thing, and we're going to go to the next thing. So cd back, cd4, which is context. Okay, so code. Okay, let me do the same thing in here. I go context, go down. I don't know how to work Windows computers anymore. Index. Okay, so in here, we're going to talk about the third thing that we another option that we have by the Apollo server. So this has the add framework and the framework, so you don't need anything else, because this isn't actually going to be an exercise or anything. This is just for you to know as in a cool thing. So you have type defs and resolvers, and you also have context. So for example, in here, we're actually, every time that we're doing this, we're getting a new framework. So we're actually getting the actual model of the thing, which makes it really hard to test, because for everything, we have to define a new model for it. Does that make sense? It's not a pure function. It actually, you need the database or something to make it testable, for example, because you need this. You can't just define like an object that has a find all method that will return something. You can't, because you need the database, you need that framework thing. So what you can do in stuff like this is that you can use context. So there is a third option called context, if I can type it. And context is just an object. So I come here and I say context, which is an object. And in here, you can pass whatever you want. So I'm just going to pass a key called Kyiv. And I'm going to just write here. And if I go to the frameworks, and instead of find all, I can not care about the first one or the second one. And I have no idea how I did this, but that's kind of cool. And I get the context. So I'm going to return this anyway, but I'm going to console.log what the context is. And if I come back here and refresh the page, I am now running it, so that makes sense. So yarn dev. OK, cool. So I reload the page, and we have 0 frameworks. And if I come to the console, we have, oh, yeah, there we go. So we have the context, which has a field called Kyiv, and here. This is mostly debugging thing for if you are using any extensions and anything. I've never used this, so I can't really explain it very well. But you get Kyiv here. So what you can also do is just console.log that Kyiv, and that will just console.log here if I run it again. So let's do that. OK. Oh, my God. OK, there we go. It's really hard to find because of the thing. But still. So basically, this is just an object that you pass to it. So one thing that you can do, instead of instantiating the framework, instantiating the model in every resolver, is that you can pass the database in the context. So in here, we pass framework. And instead of using framework, we use context.db. So context.db. That's not what I wanted. Get out. Context.db. And find all, and we do the same thing here. So we get the context, and we can just ctx.db and do that. And what this allows us to do is basically we can then create an object. So const, I don't know, const response, res, OK, whatever. So this works. And we can just have a function here called find all. And this function will just return like an array of things, for example. So this will just return, where is that? Oh, we don't have that, yeah. So this will just return an array of frameworks. And when we actually test these things, we can use this as the DB. So we can test this framework, so test resolvers that query that frameworks, and pass this, like this res, as in like a stub option instead of actually passing the database. This is like a good practice when it comes to GraphQL, is to be able to have this function doesn't actually require anything else, because you can mock the context. So you don't need to actually have a database. You can just mock a database. Does this make sense? Yeah? Yeah, OK. Cool, this is the only thing I just wanted you to know about context. So if you're working with databases, this may be a better practice than just instantiating the model every single time. First of all, because it takes time to instantiate the model. And second of all, because it's not very testable, because it's not very reusable, for example. This code is all on the thing. You don't need to. This code is on the README. I'm going to, yeah, it's on the thing. OK, so this doesn't actually have an exercise. So I'm just going to go to 5. And this is called server combine. So let me git checkout of all the things. And now it's status. What's going on? Bucket. Yarn dev. So run yarn dev here before after opening it up in code. OK, so I think this one actually expresses way better the advantages of having GraphQL over just calling a REST API, for example, or any type of other API. It doesn't matter if it's a REST API. So in this example, what we're going to do is add new fields to our thing by just getting data from the GitHub API. So this is where we're going to actually get the stars. So the stars in the first exercise were just end written. And in this exercise, we're actually going to get the stars. So the first thing that we need to do is define the type stars. And let me just come here. And the only thing that this has is, wait, type definitions. There we go. So stars, and this will be an integer. Yeah, this will be an integer, exactly. And this will also be something that will be pushed to the database. So what we're going to do is, instead of just getting stuff from the database and outputting it, we're actually, when we create a new framework, before we put it to the database, we're going to get the number of stars that that framework has from GitHub, and then we're going to push that into the database as well. Does that make sense? So when we do one request, we'll actually be doing like 2 or 3 requests. You can do how many requests you want. OK, cool. So we define stars as an integer, and we also need to define it here. Here is not actually an integer. I think it has another name. So this is stars and sequelize.number, I think. Yeah, yeah. So this is very consistent, as you can see. OK, so let's go to the resolvers. In the exercise, the solution is actually split. There is an index, a resolvers, and a schema, which is better. I'm just doing it in the same file for, I don't know, because I'm very, yeah. OK, so first thing that we actually need to do is get the URL for the GitHub API, which is, so let me go const URL. It's HTTPS, maybe with this, HTTPS. That api.github.com/repos / whatever you want to pass to it. So the first thing we need to do is create, this will be a function that will get a repo name. So this will get a name, and then we'll pass the name here, and this will return the URL that we want. So name, this is all in the GitHub API documentation. So this will just return the GitHub API that we need. So in the add framework, we get a name and we get a git. So the git that we get, so let me just create a framework. So there's also this cool thing called history, which you can go to the things that you created. Hopefully I can. Yeah, add a framework. There we go. So I can use things. So add a framework. And I'm going to add React to this. Seriously? I love when this happens. What is it? Cannot read properly. Options of length is of length of null. Cool. Oh, I'm not. Am I syncing? Yeah, force true. Yeah, because we changed the actual thing of the API, of the database. So reload the page. Reload. What do you want, man? Options now length. Fab.js. Wait, just give me a. I have no idea what this is going on. Stars type. Okay, stars int. Okay, cool shit. It's not integer. Is it int? Oh my God, their errors are so good. I don't think it is, actually. There's still an error. Options.length cannot read properly the length of undefined. No, in SQLize, I'm pretty sure it's number. Maybe it's not. Wait, SQLize that number. Let me check. Maybe it's something else. Oh, wait, I have the solution here. What am I doing? Oh, it's SQLize that integer. For fuck's sake. Yeah. SQLize that integer, and this is integer as well, I think. No, this is not integer. This one is int. Oh my God, thank God. Okay, there we go. Nice thing. Add framework. Go. We have React. Okay, cool. Okay, so I get why I was doing this. So we get this GitHub URL, and actually what we need from it is this. So we can just split the string into like the second part after this. This is the way that I'm doing it. You would probably need to do it in a better way if you're doing this in a production app. Please do it in a better way. Shit. Okay. Again. So const URI. Const framework URL is equal to, so git that split, because it's a string, and we can split it in here and just get the first one. So the 0 is this, and everything after that is the first one. One thing is that the GitHub API hates it when you put like a slash after this. So like if you put github.com/facebook/react/ GitHub API will just be like, I don't know what the fuck that is. So when you add something to the GitHub, when you add something to the frameworks, please delete the slash. I have no idea why the GitHub API is such a dick about it, but it doesn't work. Okay, so we have the framework URI. Now we just need to pass it to the other URL that we had, which I have deleted because I'm very smart. Okay, so this is https://api.github.com/repos/this framework URI. Done. Okay, just name it the same thing. That's about it. Okay, so how do we get the stars? So I'm gonna, I think I have Axios installed here. Let me just check. Yes. So I'm gonna use Axios. You can use whatever you want to make a normal GET request. Let me just close this so that it's slightly more readable and put this bigger. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna say const GitHub data is equal to Axios, an await of Axios, because we want, this is a promise and we want the return of this promise. So an await of Axios and this URL that we have. So we just pass it the URL. Okay, cool. This will return me all of the GitHub data. So if I console.log this, so GitHub data, this is going to be like a huge JSON. Okay, cool. So I'm going to try and add the same one. Reference access is not defined because I didn't import it. Cool. Const Axios equals require Axios, like this. Perfect. Beautiful. If I try the same thing again, SQLize data relation frameworks does not exist. Oh, fuck. It's still forcing. Oh, no. Oh, no. OK. Query. OK. We have React. Cool. And now we get all of this stuff. This all comes from the GitHub API. It doesn't, we don't care about this. We don't care about this. We're not doing this. We're not creating this. And so we get all the forks, all the open issues, all the watchers. You also have open issues and then open issues count, which is exactly the same thing, and I have no idea why it exists. We also have forks and forks count, random stuff. But we have this, that's what the part that we want. This is stargazers count. This is the number of people who have actually started the React API, the React thing. So this all comes in an object called data, I think. Let me just go up. Too much. Yeah, data. There we go. So what the thing that we need to do right now is that we have this. And what we want to do is also pass in the stars here. And in there, pass GitHub data, get stargazers count. And when we create this, it will not automatically. It will also add this to the thing that we create in the database. So if I do the same thing now and try, and I forgot to actually get the stars, but if I get the stars, there we go. This one was the one that was created before, but when I do it now, you'll see that it gets name React and stars this, and I can try and add view. So view, and this is Vue.js and view, and let me get the stars. And if I add it to the database, it takes longer because of now we're actually trying to add something to the database and also trying to get something from GitHub. So it has to wait for it to get from GitHub and then go to the database. But we get the stars from the GitHub API. You can put here anything that you want. So if you think about this and like what is a good idea for this is that, for example, if you have like, imagine that you have your own huge list of movies that you want to share with the world because you have beautiful taste in movies. So one thing that you can do is that you just need to pass the MDB ID and then go to an API like the Open Movie API, give it the IMDb ID, and then it will give you all the information you need about the movie. So if you have a CMS to add this kind of stuff, you just need to pass it that, and all of the rest of the things will be filled in automatically, which is really nice. This is something that we used to do in the front end. So you'd get this, and then we had to go to another API and get it. Now we can just do this in the back end. So does anyone have any questions about this part, about combining both things? Does this make sense? Is it cool? Nice. Yeah. What?
Very cool.
Very, yes. OK. So now you have an exercise about to combine. This is all in the solution. Stop copying from the screen. It's in the solution in the GitHub. I see you. Oh my God, so many JSONs. This is why they made a GraphQL API of the, there we go. CD back, and now let's go to 5.1, which is server combined solution for some reason. Let me ls this. We don't want the solution. We want server combined exercise. It's 5.2, server combined exercise. Let me open this in code. And I'm going to go over what you're supposed to do here. OK, so this one is actually split because it's going to be you either doing it and you don't have to follow what I'm doing. So it's better if there is a file for each of the things. OK, so let me first check if this is the done one. No. OK, cool. OK, so you have a file with the index. And what I do is just I require the resolvers and the type definitions from separate files. You should always do this, by the way. I don't do it like live because you have to switch things. And so in here, since you're the one doing it, I just split the files. So what I want you to do is also get the description and the avatar of the person who made that open source library, whatever the framework or the library is. There is a description and there's an avatar. They are both already commented here. You just have to uncomment. You also, there we go. So when changing the DB, we'll need to run this with force true. This will clean the DB and add the new column. Otherwise, you will fail. It'll show that error that said, cannot find something in something, something. That means the database is fucked. You need to change it. It means you need to add force true. OK, and then we get like the GitHub API from here. And the data that you want, it says here. So description is a GitHub.data, that description, and GitHub.owner, that avatar URL. So you will add the avatar of the person and the description of the project to the framework, basically, when you create it. This will remove all of the frameworks that you already have. And please do not put the end slash in it, because otherwise it won't work. Yeah, that's it. Oh, you can also try and clean that when you actually go get the stuff. Yeah, but that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to set the other counter that I had. There we go, to 15 minutes. And I'm going to take this out so that it's not very intimidating, the fact that that's there. And I'm going to yarn dev this so I can start it afterward. OK, so what we want to do right now is when we add a framework, we also want to add, we already add the stars. But let me go into the schema. We also want to add two more things, which is the description. That is right here, and the avatar. So let me copy this over to the schema. And these are both going to be strings. So string. And the avatar is also going to be a string. Cool. Done. OK, cool. In the resolvers, first of all, I have to uncomment this line and actually comment this one. And just uncomment this. So description is going to be of type string, and they're both going to have a default value of empty quotes, so just that it's not null, basically. If you remove this, it will be null by default. That's the only thing. So now, we know that we already get this GitHub data API from the GitHub API, so out of it, we need to get the description, which is at GitHub, comma data, that description. So we come here, and I can just copy this as well, which is not a bad idea. So I'll uncomment it. Oh, fancy. Cool. Do this, and now let's try it out. So is this running? Oh, nice. OK, so if this already ran, I think I can comment this and then comment this. And I will have no frameworks, basically, because I just cleaned the database. Yeah. So I'm going to add view, and I'm going to do this. OK, cool. So now if I try to get the frameworks, but also get the description, let me reload so I get the auto-completion. So description and the avatar. I reload the page, I reload the query, and I get all of this. So if I come here and try to get this, this will give me the avatar of view. If I do the same thing for React, which is React, and in here it's no touchy. Facebook, React, and I run this, it will give me a request failed with status. Nice. What the fuck happened? Internal server error, server command, OK. OK, this was a bug in Heroku. Cool. So if I get the data now, I will have an ID with 2, and I will have the description of React, a declarative, efficient, and flexible JavaScript library for building user interfaces, and I will also have their avatar, which is this one. Nice. Because it's a Facebook, yeah. OK. Does anyone have any questions about the solution to this exercise?
I have some external error which crashed.
For what?
The server. It calls SQLize was not found ever.
SQLize was not found?
SQLize was not found ever.
SQLize was not found. Oh, because you have this, probably. If you copy the env, you just got to do this. Because you're copying the exercises, yeah. Does anyone else have any questions about this? Oh, good. Does anyone have any questions about the server in general? Because this is the last server thing.
How it looks like when we have a lot of resolvers? How do you structure the
So
how it looks like?
it looks like shit. No, I'm kidding. So you're welcome. Anytime, man. Anytime you want me to say bullshit, I'm here. So one thing that you could do is that this to, like, for example, this to JavaScript is just an object. So you can merge all of this into an object, basically. So you can put all of each one of them in a single different file, or you can just put all of the queries in one single file and just merge them in here. So you can literally just, like, if I copy this somewhere else, just pray to God that this works. Keep putting me in weird situations. Const queries, and I copy this in here. So this will be an object. Yeah, so you got to do this. If I save, it's going to look all pretty and stuff. And then if I just do this, like spread it, I can probably come here and get the things. I'm not sure it worked, so I'm just going to reload the page to make sure that it worked. OK, it worked. OK, so this is one thing that you can do. You can also just get this out, for example, and like const get all will be equal to an object that will have this. And then you can spread it in here, as this is get all. So you can like form things like this. Let me go. No, I don't need to go back. In the schema, so this to GraphQL, to JavaScript is just an exactly. Thanks, man. English is hard as fuck. So you can say const framework equals Kyiv, and just do this. This will be here, and in here you can just do this.
Do we need GQL because framework constant?
This?
Do we need this?
No. You just need this. Yeah. No, you just need this. But in here, you need this to be able to read this.
Sure.
Let me make sure that I'm not saying bullshit. I need to make sure first. Yeah. So in the first one, you don't actually need it, and it still works. Let me just check that I can also put it. Yeah. So you can either do one of two ways. The only reason I put this in is because I get like the pretty thing, and if I take it out, it's just a string. But this is how you can concatenate stuff. So this is the type framework. Then you can have like all the queries and separate them and just concatenate them like this. The resolvers used to be a lot hard. You would have to like merge the objects and stuff. Now with like the REST spread, it's pretty standard. Yeah.
You said the query in GraphQL string is reserved word. So when we have a lot of entities, how we will? So I think we will need to have different strings for types and for queries, and then concatenate them.
What do you? What? In here?
No.
Here or in the resolvers? In the resolvers?
So you extracted the type framework in the separate string.
Yeah.
And if we want to make a separate module for framework entity, we also need the definition of query at framework.
Okay, so you mean, wait, so you mean that you want to split this into a different file, like I'm doing it here, and you also,
Along with frameworks query.
you also want to put this? You can put anything. This is just a text thing. This is just text.
Yes, but type query should be the only.
It's only in one place.
Yes, but I may want to combine queries for framework, for books, for whatever.
Oh. Yeah, you can create another one. So const framework queries, and this will be this object, for example, that will have this. And
It's not an object.
yeah, that was not smart. Sorry about that. And just do it like this. And then if you have more queries, this is all the framework queries, for example. And then you have like const book queries. And you create another string with the queries, and then you put it in here.
Seems hard to maintain such. It will be very difficult structure.
You can structure it in any way. Like the thing is that I'm putting it in here, but the idea is that you create different files for these types of stuff, and you would just import the file. So in here you would have a folder called schemas, and this will be the index, for example. So I'll rename this to index, index.js, and this will be in a folder. Wait, let me just. I should also copy this and delete this. And this will be like, so new file framework.js, which will have this. So export default this. Stop. Just stop. You good now? There we go. You good now? Nope. There's a space. No. What is it, dude? Framework is declared. Oh, okay. That was just. It was just slow. So in this index, you actually import. So const framework equals require. Now request animation frame. Require this and slash framework. It doesn't all have to be in one file. So this is the framework, and then you can split this into more folders. You can do whatever you want, but just have one index that has the whole GraphQL schema. That's it. But you can, like, for example, all the queries can be in one, like, in one of these that just say queries, for example, and you'll just put it in here. So you can form these however you want, because it's just a string. You're just concatenating strings. JavaScript doesn't care if this is a type definition or anything. To them, it's just a string. Does this make sense? Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions about server in general? OK, cool. So let's, yeah. Fuck.
Do we have any ready-to-use solution that we don't need to write a lot of resolvers and have a generation of these resolvers, but all we need is to make our query from client, for example, with ID, and our backend solution can, all we need is to describe our schemas and relations between them. And our backend solution will be able to make, for example, some inner joins under the hood and resolve all these relations with these schemas, and we don't need to write it by ourselves. We have
no, this is, there is, no, this is for generating static types. There is like a REST API, Apollo server, wait.
I want to understand the main advantage of GraphQL with REST API, and now I see that we also need to define any data that we want to need, and all we can do is to filter some properties of object.
OK, so if you have a REST API, there is a way to just, I think it's by the Apollo server as well. I'm looking for it. But there is like a REST thing that will automatically do a lot of stuff for you. I just, data sources. I think it's this. Give me a sec. Yeah. Yeah, so if you have a REST API, yeah, so there is Apollo data source REST or RC, which is the same thing. And so what you do is that, so you have a get movie, get most viewed movies, and this is just an easier way of doing most of the stuff they would have to do manually. Yeah, that is pretty much what exists right now. This is, for example, it's just a class, and then when you define it, you have a data source. So movie API equals new movies API. The type definitions, you always have to do them.
But I need to write resolvers. No.
Yeah, you still need to write resolvers, but they're a lot simpler. You can access just a data source like this, but you will still need to write resolvers.
And I need to find by ID and write it by myself, yes?
Not only by ID, you also will need to implement some filters, what front-end developers will require for you.
Okay, but we don't have any solutions that can implement these filters automatically.
Right now, on open source market, I didn't find anything right now, but you can write it in open source.
Yeah, most of the things you do have to write by yourself.
But it's very similar to REST API. With REST API, I also need to write all things by myself, but at any road. And I also can, for example, make on backend some request which gets stars from GitHub when I'm creating some entity on this.
Yeah. No, that's the same idea. The main thing is that the main difference that I think it is, it's mostly how, so first of all, this is all typed, which is really good. But if you use something like Java, it's already typed. So that's the same thing. But getting something with know that it's already typed is very good. Also, you have a lot of freedom with doing this types of stuff. And the main thing that I really like about GraphQL is that backend and frontend people can coexist and like do the same API. And also, it's way easier to mock. There is a thing to, I'm not going to show it right now, But there is something that you can use to mock the GraphQL API. That means that if you have a GraphQL API, while you're developing the REST, for example, or while you're developing the actual resolvers, I can just get mock data, which is very good. So there is several good things, like the typing and everything like that, but it's also the fact that me as a front-end developer can actually touch the API, which is a very good thing. I don't need to go back and forth like between me and the backend developer to actually, oh, go fix this, or go add this, or go do something. Like, I can just go there and do it, which is a very good thing.
The developer should write some resolvers. I cannot live without backend developer, yes? Because
You can.
I can.
I've done servers in GraphQL without any backend developer.
You created, but you work like full stack developer, not like only a front-end developer.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I mean that it will be cool.
You will still need to be a backend developer. Yeah, that's true.
It will be cool if we have some universal query language on client that we can, universal for all databases, that we can query from our client database.
Like a SQLize for the front end, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not a thing. Yeah.
We can skip backend part with resolvers and with all this stuff. And in such case, if we
Okay,
want
so you want to steal my job?
I want to steal your job.
uh,
That's what I am doing right now.
I try to
I
understand.
don't believe you.
No, I'm not. I like them CSSs.
I try to understand if this solution is existent on the market.
No, I don't think so. No.
Don't have such.
No.
Sorry, but what about Prisma?
So there is a thing called Prisma, which is an open source thing that, the thing about Prisma, first of all, I haven't really used it a lot. The second thing is that it's more constraining than this. I was going to use Prisma for the lessons, but the thing about Prisma is that, first of all, it's connected to Prisma. Second of all, you need like, it's not easy to deploy. Like somebody who has experience with DevOps and something can deploy it, but it uses Docker Compose. So even I would take like an hour to try and fucking deploy that thing to DigitalOcean. So that's why I use this. The Prisma doesn't, you don't need to write resolvers for Prisma. You just need to write the type definition and it will create the resolvers for you. But you can add custom shit to it. So what you get from the API is what you get from the API. So the API is connected to the database, and that's it. So that does exist. You can use Prisma. It's prisma.io. Wait.
It looks like Firebase on Postgres, unfortunately on Monday.
Yeah.
It's not worked as fast as it working on Edge.
It's like ORM on client, yes?
Look, GraphQL is abstraction layer.
Yeah.
It's my idea. GraphQL is abstraction layer. Facebook uses it because they need something to work with more than 1,000 different developers, with more than 100 different applications, mobile, web, etc. That's why they need such abstraction layer. It's very cool, such technology, but for some projects you don't need this stuff. But if you need this, you should think about abstraction layer, and if you will check it
Oh, no.
compare with the rest, you definitely will understand that you will pay more for this abstraction layer. Any abstraction layer is more money and time for implementing it, but for future it will be more consistent work with your data. That's why it can be very useful for some projects. Sorry, I steal your...
No. You're speaking good. You're saying good things. Actually, you can implement resolvers for your GraphQL server using Prisma bindings. Nice. Didn't know that. But yeah, you can create your own things. So you can also use Prisma, which does a lot of that work for you. And like I said, if you use GraphQL with the REST API, it's just an abstraction layer, which makes it way easier to work with the front end. You can just use GraphQL, for example. In this case, we're connected to the database using just GraphQL. The problem that you can have with this is that your clients, by client, I don't mean your actual client, I mean like the React application, will have access to your full database. Because you will have to write the schemas for everything that you have in the database, and you will have to write the resolvers for everything that you have in the database. Otherwise, you can't change it. So your front end will have access to the entire database. If that's fine by you,
We can make some restrictions for the
yeah. The Apollo server actually has an authentication error built in, which is really nice. If you try to do something and you're not authenticated, you can just return a new authentication error. If this is fine by you, with just authentication errors, you can just use GraphQL, for example. But like you said, if you use it with a REST API in the backend, it's an abstraction. Yeah. And if you want to make a small thing, I would say use Prisma, if you want. If you're comfortable with deploying things with Docker Compose, which I'm not. Any other questions about servers? There's also servers for PHP. I'm using Node because I'm most familiar with JavaScript. But there's also for, I think, at least for PHP, Java, and Ruby. You can write them in other languages as well. And there's also clients for, Angular, React, Vue, normal JavaScript, just vanilla JavaScript, iOS, and Android on the front end. And React Native.